The next song is about a suburb in Melbourne, which some of you may be familiar with or may not. It's called Spotswood, and it's the lowest suburb in Melbourne geographically, so all the water drains towards it. And the reason that we've written this song about Spotswood is because it's the site of the Melbourne sewage pumping station. I don't know if Sydney has a sewage pumping station. Yeah, you must have one, I guess. I'll have to look it up. But if you don't, then I'm really interested in your miraculous sewage system and where it might go. Maybe it goes into the bay, I don't know. Yeah, out to sea, yeah. It does, that is true. Even the Melbourne one, the Melbourne poo, I guess, goes to Spotswood. So everything drains down to Spotswood, to this beautiful pumping station that was built in 1897. Well, it was started in 1892, but it was finished in 1897, which is pretty good given those major infrastructure projects and how long they take. So all these tunnels were built under all the Melbourne houses, linking everyone's house to the sewage system. A few people died while they were digging the tunnel underneath the Burrung Yarra River to get to Spotswood. And so they decided to build the sewage pumping station in the style of the French Second Empire style of architecture. So in case you're not familiar with that, because it's quite unusual in Australia, it comprises of towers with mansard roofs and really little kind of round decorative windows. So it's quite fancy, and I think it has 2 widows' walks as well, so that's quite good if you want to stand on top of the towers and look out to sea and imagine all the waste of Melbourne flowing underneath you. So the reason we wrote this song was because I was given a tour of that building once, and right up in the top of the tower, the very first female microbiologist employed by the Melbourne Metropolitan Board of Works, who built the sewage station, she was stationed in the top of the tower. So she has a laboratory where she was researching how bacteria were eating into the sewage pipes, so they had to find a solution for that. Her name's Lucy Alford, by the way. And in the other tower, she has her own toilet because she was the first woman, so there were no female toilets in the building up until the 40s when she was employed during the Second World War. So the only place to give her a toilet was in the other tower. So that toilet's still there, and it's really beautiful. It has really nice wallpaper. It looks out to the Westgate Bridge, if you're familiar with Melbourne, and the opening of where the Maribyrnong and the Burrung rivers meet, and it goes out into what is Port Phillip Bay. So it's really spectacular. And I guess just seeing that space really was quite moving. And so when I was catching the train home from work, then this song kind of developed over the clickety-clack of the train kind of travelling down underneath the Westgate Bridge. And I grew up in that suburb, and I didn't know this story until I was like 25. And I thought, wow, you can be living right next to something really interesting and not know anything about it until a moment, and then everything changes. And then I couldn't believe that I was back in the suburb where I wanted to run away from for so long. And the Westgate stretches across the sky. that I'd be brought back here to you. No stranger thing